Thank you, Mr. President, Madam Prime Minister. Today, you have given the speech of your decline. You said today that you are not resigning, but here in the Parliament of the Italian Republic, you made the opening speech of your electoral campaign, challenging the opposition by saying, "Bring us the solutions." We have put forward many solutions and proposals in this Parliament. Your majority, however, has rejected every single one of them. But after 4 years, Madam President, do us the courtesy of not coming here to the Parliament and speaking to the Italians to tell them what you will do, because you have been governing Italy for 4 years and have done absolutely nothing, except for telling, Madam Prime Minister, many lies, if you'll allow me, starting with the economic data you boast about while forgetting the reality. And this, unfortunately, saddens me, because you come from a political history that you have, unfortunately, forgotten. You were an underdog, and you are not anymore. You are a skillful frequenter of the salons of the powers that be that direct the economy today. Yes, I will explain it to you beyond your grimaces, but I will explain why this happened. A little while ago, when you intervened, you said that deaths in the Mediterranean have decreased. That is false. It is a lie. They have increased in the first 4 months of 2026. Do you know by how much? By 152%. 765 deaths just in the first 4 months of 2026, whereas in 2025, there were 315 deaths. A dramatic figure. Do not come and tell us things that do not exist. You said that the justice reform that you brought to the evaluation of the Italians, which the Italians rejected with the referendum, will not be abandoned. In short, you who say that you should respect the opinion of the Italians. But I would like to tell you one thing. Given that you said it was a referendum campaign that did not go into the merits and where many lies were told, have you done a minimum of self-criticism? You went to the Parenti Theater to say that whether they won or not, drug dealers, rapists, and pedophiles would be freed. But are you able to make self-criticism? You are the Prime Minister. You did not maintain an institutional posture. You are the one responsible for the defeat. You say that the opposition does not have the courage to ask for your resignation. I have the courage. Let's go to vote right away. We have no problems, Madam Prime Minister. You see, there is an issue I want to address with utmost frankness. You said, regarding foreign policy, that it has an impact on domestic policy. I absolutely agree with you. You said that you are stubbornly unified in the relationship between Europe and the USA, that is, Trump. Look, you are not stubbornly unified. You are stubbornly short-sighted in not seeing where this world is going. A world in which the logic of war is driven by two criminals. Because for me, not only is Netanyahu a criminal, but Trump is too. Because when you bomb civilian infrastructure and schools, you violate the Geneva Convention, and you are a war criminal to all intents and purposes. But it is not the Green and Left Alliance saying this. Just imagine, even the American Republicans have said it, as they are beginning to think about impeachment regarding a president of the United States of America, from whom you cannot distance yourself in the slightest. But you have a problem, Madam Prime Minister. You have a problem with your electorate, the right-wing electorate, which no longer shares this subservience towards a country, because we are not enemies of the Americans. We want to be friends with the Americans, because we think that, even today, the Americans are held hostage by the politics of an individual who sends militias around the United States to put handcuffs on children. But you agree with this. You do not find a shred of indignation towards someone who carries out an operation of this kind. Yesterday, Vance, Vice President of the United States of America, said next to Orban that you and Orban are Trump's best friends. I would have some problems with that. Yes, he said it. he said it, and that he is ashamed. But he is ashamed of this. And so he said this, and said this. There is a problem. You have failed to exercise a critical function, yes, even with condemnation regarding this foreign policy. But be patient, Madam Prime Minister. Very nervous. Very nervous, Madam Prime Minister. Very nervous. But let's move forward. Let's move forward. You see, you haven't been able to say a word regarding what is happening. I know that Gaza does not exist for you. I know that for you, what Netanyahu has done in Gaza with the extermination, for us, a genocide, of over 70,000 men, women, and children who have nothing to do with terrorism and who have been massacred and exterminated. But yesterday, Netanyahu bombed civilian residences, 200 dead, just as if it were nothing. And what do you say? What do you do? Do you have the courage to take measures? Because sanctions are rightly adopted against rogue states. But for us, who does that stuff there? It is a terrorist state because it kills our women and children. He is a terrorist. Have the courage to defend the history of the foreign policy of this country, the dignity of a country that cannot side with criminals. Look, I want to tell you something about energy. We of the Green and Left Alliance deeply contest the energy policy you have implemented up to now, which is a failure. When you took office in 2022, you had on your desk and on the desks of your ministers the proposal from some companies, indeed almost 100 companies, telling you, we are ready to invest 85 billion euros to install 60 gigawatts of renewable energy power in 3 years, which would have represented the possibility of freeing ourselves from the dependence on 15,000 billion cubic meters. 15 billion cubic meters of gas. Well, do you know what that figure is? It is the amount we take from Qatar, and it is the amount we take today in LNG from Trump. You did not want to do this. You allowed the tariff increases because, yes, you have a responsibility regarding energy policy. So much so that criticizing Sanchez, the situation, for example, in Spain in 2022, was the following. The Spanish were paying 544 euros per megawatt hour of energy, while Italy was paying 320 during the period of the war in Ukraine. Well, today, Spain has average prices at 44 euros per megawatt hour in the first months of 2026, and Italy at 130. Whose responsibility is it, if not yours, for discarding this possibility? You, with your ideological ferocity, with your ideology against the ecological transition, have condemned Italians to pay more for energy to do a favor to the energy companies that in 3 years have collected 70 billion euros in profits. And I say this to the Italians who are watching us. It is the money of pensioners, of families, of small and medium-sized enterprises that have seen their bills double because you were not capable of building energy sovereignty. But weren't you a patriot? But weren't you a sovereigntist? But you cannot be a patriot in Washington and a foreigner in Italy. You cannot be. We must build energy sovereignty with the energy sources we have available, and Sanchez has pointed this out. Why don't you do it? To whom have you sold Italy's interests? But you cannot take the wallets of the Italians as if it were nothing. Is that clear? And therefore, from this point of view, Madam Prime Minister, whom I saw very nervous today, we tell you, as the Green and Left Alliance, that we are ready to go to the vote. We have no problems. We have proposals. We are ready to govern Italy because you have wrecked Italy. And do not come telling us any stories about the mafia. Because the point is not your selfie. The point is why, within Brothers of Italy, there are registered members who refer to the Sinise clan. And the problem is why you tolerated that Del Mazzo, convicted in the first degree, set up a company with a Camarista linked to the Sinise clan.